Okay, we need to talk about BirdDog. BirdDog released their new flagship PTZ cameras just not very long ago. They have the X1, which is a 20x 1080 camera, and the X1 Ultra 4K, which of course is a 4K at 12x. And these are kind of their main cameras moving forward. Now, these have a broadcast quality Sony sensor in them. They have AI auto tracking built in, so you don't have to use, another piece of software or computer to do the AI auto tracking anymore. They have a tally light system. They have wireless functionality. We'll talk about that in a minute, but they, if you ever wanted wireless control or whatever of your PTZ cameras, that's now built in. And they have an easy to access info panel. This is one of my favorite features on every camera on the side, displaying their network information, everything that you need during setup. In short, these cameras sound awesome, but are they? So let's give you a brief history of my relationship with BirdDog. See, 3 or 4 years ago, you can go back in our YouTube channel and you can find where I introduced BirdDog to our audience, and we added BirdDog cameras and kits to our website. I was a BirdDog fan. But then over the next year, 2 years, we sold quite a bit of BirdDog equipment. We sold quite a bit of BirdDog cameras and kits with BirdDog technology in them. And over the next year and a half, 2 years, every single customer that we sold a BirdDog kit to was unhappy. Every single one of them. None of them were happy. Every single one of them had issues. They had issues with setup. They had issues with things breaking. They had issues with the cameras that couldn't be fixed. And so they would have to download firmware updates. And it was firmware updates just to fix minor issues that kept the cameras from working. And the firmware update process was so painful. You'd have to download 2 different files, and it depended on which board, which circuit was in which. And so you would download these files. You had to put a USB drive in the back of it. And it was so painful and so complex. Most people couldn't do it. We started having people send us their camera so that we could do the neuralizer on it. We had them ship the camera to us so that we could do the process simply to get their IP addresses reset, because there was no other easy way to do it. In short, we fell out of love with BirdDog hard. Felt so strongly that this last year I went to the NAB conference in Vegas. They had a booth there. I didn't even stop by. They were advertising their new cameras with the wireless system, and I just kind of rolled my eyes and went by. I was like, their stuff is junk. It doesn't work. And so I wasn't very happy with it. And then I got a call. So a friend of mine at the distributor that BirdDog uses, they said, hey, I've been talking to BirdDog, and I want to bring you something. And so he came to Seattle, and he brought a box and set it on the table, and it was their new camera, the X1 Ultra. And when he gave it to me, I was like, I'm not super excited. I've never had a happy customer with BirdDog. It's been a sour taste, and I don't want to sell their cameras. And his message to me was, just try it. Just give it a try. And so I started researching a little bit, and I found out the source of some of the issues, and I have to give BirdDog a little bit of break, because the source of the problem was that BirdDog was not a camera manufacturer. They were a manufacturer of NDI technology. But when it came to selling cameras with the BirdDog logo on them, they were actually bringing another company's camera technology and putting their NDI and their firmware stuff in it and selling it. And apparently over time, things started to fall apart. It was like they were working further and further apart, which caused all these strange kind of issues. That when you wanted to update the firmware, you had to kind of do 2 updates, one for BirdDog, one for the camera manufacturer. It was just a mess. It was a mess. And so they decided to break with that former company and to manufacture their own cameras. So the X1 and the X1 Ultra, they are BirdDog cameras. And so he put the camera on the table and he said, here, just try it. Just try it. So I tested it out, and here are some of my initial thoughts when I plugged it in here in the studio and turned it on for the first time out of the box, no adjusting settings and everything. It was amazing. The image quality blew me away. The colors popped. Compared to other cameras in the price range, I don't think there's a better camera out there, especially out of the box. Now, I haven't played with the X1 1080 camera, but it also has a Sony sensor in it, so I imagine it's similar, just 1080 versus 4K. So I had the 4K version, but out of the box, I was blown away at the quality, at the ease of setup, the fact that it just worked out of the box like I expect a camera to work, which I had never had that experience with BirdDog before, was very pleasantly surprising. And so I decided, okay, this camera is pretty good, but is it good enough for churches? Can we sell this camera and actually believe in it for our customers? Or is this just going to be another, thing that we don't want to get into? So I decided I was going to take it to our church and I was going to put it as our A cam. This is going to be our main camera. It's going to be the one that we use week in and week out for our live streams. And I was just going to see how it did. And honestly, it's been working very, very well. I'm actually very happy with the quality. There are some things wrong with it. I'll talk about that in a minute, but overall, it has just worked for the most part. The image quality, like I said, is amazing. So here is some of the image quality of the X1 Ultra in a service. And here's an example of the X1 Ultra's image quality compared to other cameras. So you have to admit, the image quality is really, really good, especially for the price range. The 4K camera at 12x. And by the way, the church video that you're seeing right now, that's about a 40-foot range that it's zooming in, the 12x. So it's got, a pretty good zoom length, even the 12x. But it comes in at $1,500 for a 4K PTZ camera. That is so affordable. And the 1080 version with a 20x zoom, it comes in at under $1,000. So the price range of these cameras is amazing. When you compare the image quality to other cameras, it's up there with cameras that are $5,000, $6,000 a piece, in my opinion. The image quality is really, really good. So here are my thoughts on the X1 Ultra when it comes to using it in a church environment or like education or something like that. It's got great colors. The colors just pop. Matter of fact, with other cameras, one of the issues that we've had is that the back video wall is a projector shooting on a white wall. And so sometimes the colors in other PTZ cameras are off. We'll get the colors right for skin tones and, the clothes people are wearing, but the video in the background, if it was purple, it would be more bluish on camera. And if we got the color dialed in for the wall, then the people were really weird colored. And so we just had to accept the fact that the video wall in the back was not going to look like it does in real life. And that was not really a big deal. But with the X1 Ultra, one of the things that we found is, hey, the colors are actually accurate. And so the colors are amazing. The image quality is great. It's night and day difference being able to adjust settings and get a good, the image the way you like it compared to previous BirdDog cameras. Like, that was one of the things. I had one of their more expensive 4K cameras and the image quality was horrible and I couldn't set exposure right. This one's so much easier. It's completely different experience. And so setting exposure and everything is really good. All of the major issues when it comes to the things that most people had problems with in previous BirdDog cameras, I think they have addressed. Setup is easy. You can get the IP address right off the side of the camera. You don't have to have a remote control. You don't have to do anything. The IP address is just there, which is amazing. It just seems to work rather well, and I'm very comfortable with using it in our setup. The wireless thing, now this is just my opinion, the wireless thing I think is still kind of a gimmick rather than an actual solution at this point, because you're going to run a cable of some kind to the camera, whether it's a power cable or an Ethernet cable for power. If you're already running a cable to it, why not just connect it to your network? Being wireless, I guess in some instances, maybe out in a, I don't know. I can't think of a solution where wireless would be better than wired, but there's a lot of people that ask for it. So, they've released it, but at this point, I think it's more of a gimmick than it is a solution. So I don't even use it. I just hardwired it up. NDI works fine, but again, with BirdDog, for some reason, I don't know if it's because they're so good at NDI, but you do need to have some networking IT chops to get their NDI to work without a lot of latency and stuff. You can't just plug it in and go with it, which, if you're using NDI, you should have some IT chops anyway, because it's all networking. If you don't have a lot of networking experience and you don't have an AV line network switch that you can put on there, then I would not try to do NDI. I would do the HDMI output all day long and just go with that. After using it for a while, there's some things that still don't work 100%. Now, granted, this is first generation cameras, so there's going to be issues. But the thing that I like is that the issues are not deal breaker like they were for the the previous generation of non-BirdDog cameras. One of the things that I've noticed is that like the one push white balance, for whatever reason, just doesn't work. It doesn't calculate, just doesn't work on my camera. So I have to manually set the white balance. And it seems like, because I leave our cameras on all the time, the PTZ optics work fine. The old BirdDog camera that we have, the P100, I think it's fine. But this one, every time I come in, the white balance is back to super, super warm, even though I have it set manually. And so I'll go in and look at the settings, and the settings are still the same. It's just the camera has changed. And so to get it back to normal, I have to adjust the setting, click save, and then adjust the setting back to where it goes and save again. And then it's fine. And I have to do that pretty much every week when we come in for church, but at least it's an easy fix, right? And that might be something that they fix in a future update. Another thing that I noticed is it's very susceptible to vibrations, which other PTZ cameras didn't seem to be so much. Everything else just seems to work really good. So bottom line, here are my opinions. It's an amazingly great camera for the price. The warranty is 5 years, so you have that. But the great news is that I haven't had the contact support with this new camera. It just works, so that's great. If you're using NDI, you need to have a networking professional and AV level equipment on your network. Just a regular Cisco, just a regular Netgear router, it's not going to work. So be cognizant of that. If you use the HDMI connection, it just seems to work great. So we're listing BirdDog kits again in our store, and we're cautiously optimistic about the future of this brand. I give their camera, the X1 Ultra, with my limited experience with it, I give it 2 thumbs up for now. The image quality is amazing, and it just seems to work. And the things that do kind of go wrong with it, it's easy to get around them without a lot of hassle. So I really do think that BirdDog is doing their best to move on from experiences that we've had in the past. How that looks from 1-2 years, I don't really know. But right now, here's the one thing I do know, that this camera is amazing for the price. It works fine. It's been working for us for several weeks now. We have no complaints over the quality. Every camera has its issues. There is no perfect camera. And so the issues that we've experienced so far with this BirdDog X1 Ultra are just as minor as everyone else's. And so we're going to leave it as our A cam now. We're happy with the quality. The image quality is stunning. And we're putting some of our more experienced cameras and more expensive cameras in other locations to get other shots. But our main camera is going to remain this BirdDog X1 Ultra. So if you're looking for a low cost, high quality PTZ camera, these seem to be a legitimate camera. And I think we're going to sell a bunch of them. You can go to ChurchSetup.com and you're going to find some kits there for the X1 Ultra. And if you've used this camera in the past, let me know your experience down below. Your experience with NDI, your experience with HDMI, your experience with the wireless, your experience with the auto tracking. I'd love to hear everybody's experience with this. But again, for the price point, this camera seems to be an amazing deal. And so if you're looking for that kind of experience, you can go check it out, ChurchSetup.com. Hopefully that was helpful. I never introduced myself. My name is Ryan Scott from ChurchSetup.com. One of the things that we do for our customers is we provide all-in-one kits. You go and buy a kit, everything is designed to work together. and you get it in a box, you unplug it, you plug everything in, and it just works. And if you need help with setup, we actually do remote setup for you. We can jump on Zoom, take remote control of your computer, and we can do pretty much all the setup for you. And so if you're interested in that kind of a solution for your church or your school live streaming video needs, then go ahead and check us out. Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully it was helpful for you. We'll see you on the next one.